Look at all the boats.
Oh, that's okay in place.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Barcelona. Let me introduce you to our driver. His name is Jesus.
Hello, good morning.
Hello. Hi, Jesus.
Hello.
And now we are going to meet with your guide, Mireia, and also with the rest of the group.
Lots of Barcelona streets like this. Lots of bicycles and scooters everywhere. It's Barcelona traffic. This is close to Catalunya Square.
Let me give you some practical information. Those of you who have the purple ticket, it means that you're going to do the Sagrada Familia tour. It's a tour that takes 2 hours and a half, and you will finish at 12:30. But if you want, you can stay more time inside the Sagrada Familia, and you don't need to come back here on time at 12:30. And then those of you who have the orange ticket, it means that you're going to do the highlights tour. It's a tour that takes 5 hours, and you will finish at 3 p.m. here at Catalunya Square. Now, in a few minutes, we are going to see one of the most famous buildings that we have here in Barcelona of the architect Antoni Gaudí, which is called Casa Batlló. The Batlló family became very wealthy with the trade of textile. It was declared World Heritage Site by UNESCO. Some people said that Gaudí took the inspiration in the legend of Saint George and the dragon. The legend explained that Saint George killed the dragon that wanted to eat the princess, and from the dragon's blood grew a rose. That's why here in Catalonia it's typical that every 23rd of April the man gives the woman a rose and the woman gives the man a book.
More of these trash cans. Scooters. See the scooter parking lots of more scooter parking lots. They're way. I've never seen so many scooter parking spaces.
Biz öyle mi gidiyoruz? Niye böyle gidiyoruz? Güney'e gidiyoruz. Vatikan. Herkes. Evet. Şöyle aşağıda. Katalonya neredeyse. Plaça de Catalunya.
La aventaba y me caía encima. Hasta que ya luego ya a medianoche me desperté. Busqué tu mano y ya no estaba.
In the next corner, just pay attention on your left side. We will see the facade of Casa Batlló.
Şurası.
As you can see from here in this corner, the curly roof represents the dragon's spine. The chimney represents the lands that St. George used to give the dragon, and the little balcony in the middle represents the rose that grows from the dragon's blood. The other balconies represent eyes or skulls from the dragon's victims.
Evet, ağız gibi zaten baksana.
And finally, the colorful facade of broken tiles, very common in Gaudi's works, represents the dragon's skin.
Şöyle çekeyim.
Que lo dibujas en papel, que funcione, que lo plasmes y que esté bien.
İşte şimdi burası Gracia bilmem ne dedi ya.
Diagonal değil mi?
Hayır hayır. Burası şöyle.
Mireia. Our driver's name, believe he has been introduced already, Jesus. And well, now we will all go to the Sagrada Familia to visit Gaudi's masterpiece, the church, the unfinished church of Sagrada Familia. Okay, I'm going to sit down and buckle up. I'll continue talking from down there. Is the sound good there at the back? Yes? Okay, very good. Okay, so we are driving on this big avenue here called Passeig de Gràcia. Barcelonians say this is the Champs-Élysées of Barcelona, or the Fifth Avenue. As you can see, we're not very humble sometimes. This is a shopping street today. It's full of shops, lots of clothes shops, very affordable ones like Zara, Mango, but also the most expensive boutiques as well. Chanel, Gucci, Dior, Versace, etc. And now we are about to see another apartment building by Antoni Gaudí, our architect, that is located on the right-hand side. The moment is in front of us on the right. I'll ask Jesus to drive slowly for us to be able to see it. Look, it's this building on the corner with this massive wavy facade. This facade is reminding us a little bit of the waves of the ocean. And if you look at the balconies made of wrought iron, they look like algae, like seaweed. Gaudi's artwork is always inspired by nature, so we find these very sinuous, curvy lines trying to copy nature. And I don't know if you will all be able to see from where you're sitting, but if you can, try have a look at the very top of the building, at the roof terrace. It's very interesting. There are some chimneys decorated with warriors' masks, and there are also some big white crosses where there used to be a water tank in the past. The name of this building is Casa Mila. Casa in Spanish means house. Mila was the name of the owners, Mr. and Mrs. Miller. And the owners used to live on the mezzanine floor in the lower apartment. And the upper floors were divided into smaller apartments and rented out to other families. So the lower apartment is much nicer, it's decorated in a much nicer way. And again, this is called Casa Mila, but Barcelonians call the building La Pedrera, which means the stone quarry. And they called the building like that because when they finished the works in 19, when they saw that building, they were in real shock. They all started saying, but what's all that pile of stone? It looks like a massive stone quarry. That's why they called it La Pedrera, which means the stone quarry. People were really shocked when they saw this building. As you can imagine, in the newspapers, there were all sorts of comic stripes. They were mocking the building. They didn't particularly like Gaudí and his style. There were these comic stripes saying, well, at last Barcelona's got a car park for UFOs and things like that, because the building was really shocking, really different to most other buildings. Gaudí built this stone quarry building from scratch. There was nothing there. It's not that he remodeled an existing building, but he designed everything from scratch, and he used a new building technique, something that was very revolutionary at the time. I'll explain what that's about. And at the moment we're crossing this avenue that's coming from the left, called the Diagonal. It's called the Diagonal because it crosses the city diagonally. This is the longest street we have in Barcelona. It's 11 kilometers long. As you can see, we're not very original sometimes when it comes to naming streets. This is called the Diagonal because it crosses diagonally. And look, here on the right-hand side, we have another house by a different architect, not by Gaudí, but from the same period of time. This is from 1905, also an apartment building. So I said that the stone quarry building, to design all that, Gaudí used a new building technique, something that was very revolutionary, because those walls we've seen, those wavy walls, are not master walls. There, in that building, there aren't any master walls. The weight of the building is supported by a big metal frame, like an iron skeleton. And thanks to that frame can be covered by wavy walls, by big windows to let the fresh air come into the apartments, the daylight as well, to provide ventilation. And the apartments were tailor-made. And the first floor, where the Mila couple used to live, the owners, Mr. and Mrs. Mila, was massive, 1,200 square meters. This for Barcelona is really, really, really big. The upper floors were divided into 3 or 4 smaller apartments, and still for Barcelona standard, the size of those smaller apartments were also very, very big. And the Barcelonians, they were mocking Gaudí, they were mocking the building, and they were also mocking the owners, Mr. and Mrs. Mila. For example, they were saying, yeah, of course, they never had any children, the couple, because the apartment is so big, they couldn't find each other in it, for example. And as you've seen, the walls outside the building are wavy, and so are the walls inside the apartments. And the ceilings are also wavy. Sometimes people say when I walk into one of these Gaudí's apartments, I feel kind of dizzy because there are no straight lines, no flat walls or sharp angles. Everything is curvy, wavy, and perhaps, yeah, it gives this sensation of dizziness. And I was explaining to the group earlier on in Casa Batlló that Gaudí had lots of problems with the wives of his commissioners, because women are normally a bit more practical, if you let me say, than men, and they were complaining, saying, with these funny wavy walls, I cannot hang my expensive paintings because they don't fit. Or there's another anecdote, for example, that says that one of the ladies, one of the tenants once complained to Gaudí saying, listen, with these funny wavy walls, I don't know where to place my wall piano. And Gaudí's answer was, well, maybe it's about time for you to start learning to play the violin. They didn't understand Gaudí. They didn't understand his artwork. And actually, this building we have just seen, the stone quarry building, the one with the massive wavy facade, was Gaudí's last civil work. When he finished that building in 1912, he finished a couple of other projects that he had already started, and after that he stopped working for the wealthy families, and he devoted himself exclusively to the building of the church, of the Sagrada Familia. That's the monument we will be visiting now, the Sagrada Familia. You will see a big building site. It's not that they're restoring the building, it's that they're still building it. They started the works 136 years ago, and it hasn't been finished yet. They're working very hard now because the plan is to finish it very soon, but it's still being built. The Sagrada Familia. It looks like there's been kind of a crash, an accident here in the crossing.
Yes.
Crazy drivers in Barcelona. Well, normally when there is an accident, there is a motorbike involved. No one seems to be really injured. Yeah. You may have noticed that we have lots of motorcycles in the city. City with more motorcycles per head in Europe. Well, the weather makes it very easy to motorcycle or to cycle. There are lots of bicycles as well. Very often in the city, hardly ever snow, so even in winter, you can use your motorbikes and bicycles.
Ne güzel yermiş valla.
Well, we're not far from the Sagrada Familia. Do you know what Sagrada Familia means in Spanish, by the way? Sagrada Familia, or Holy Family, Holy Family. And the members of the Holy Family are Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. This is a Catholic church, and it's consecrated to these three characters, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, like a traditional Catholic family, a father, a mother, and a son. They started building this church in 1882, in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. And with industrialization, the society was becoming more and more materialistic and less spiritual, less religious. Catholic family was in danger of disappearing. And there was an association of devotees of Saint Joseph that commissioned the building of this new church dedicated to the Holy Family to try rescue the values of a traditional Catholic family. Well, now Jesus is going to be turning right, and if you turn your heads to the right at the end of this avenue, you'll be able to see the Sagrada Familia, the church. There we have it. There we can see the towers, the cranes. As I said, this is still a building site. The church hasn't been finished yet. I would say in 136 years, they've managed to build approximately 65%. So there's another 35 missing. And the plan now is to finish everything in 8 years. According to the experts, if everything goes according to plan, this church will be finished in 2026. To be more precise, if possible, they will finish it before June the 10th, 2026. And they have chosen that particular date because the architect, Antoni Gaudí, the architect who designed this church, died on June the 10th, 1926. There again, if you look on the right, there's where we're going to. There we have the Sagrada Familia. In the past, we were able to stop the coaches right next to the church, but the neighbors around here complained to the city council saying that there were too many coaches driving past their homes. So now we are having to drive to the Diagonal Avenue. There, Jesus is going to leave us and we will walk from there. I'll try to walk slowly for those who may be a bit slower. Now the neighbors are complaining. They say there are too many people walking past our homes. But I don't think there's anything else we can do about that. The church, when finished, will have three entrances, 3 ground facades, 2 side entrances, and a main entrance. The 2 side entrances are already finished, but the main one is still missing. They haven't even started building the main entrance facade, and that will be a massive entrance, monumental entrance. But as I'm saying, they haven't even started building that entrance. And the church will have 18 towers, 18, and at the moment there are only 8 of them finished, the shortest ones. So the towers you will see today are only the short towers. There are 10 towers missing that will be much taller than the towers you will see today.
Yeah, they are going to build in 10 years.
And they're going to finish all that in 8 years.
I don't know.
8 years. You don't believe that?
No, I don't know. Impossible.
Well, it's the experts working there, the ones that say they can do it.
Okay.
The ones they've committed to do it.
Gaudi will be proud of them.
Gaudí knew that his project was very, very ambitious. He knew that he wouldn't be able to finish that church. And that's why, more than focusing on the building of the church, he focused on the plans. He wanted to finish all the plans to leave us the instructions, to leave the plans to the future generations. And still today, they are building the church according to Gaudí's original ideas. There are some parts of the church for which they haven't got Gaudí's instructions, and that's either because Gaudí didn't have time to finish everything, he died before he finished everything, and also because some of the plans later. But for most of the project, they still have Gaudí's plans, and they're still being respected. They're still building Gaudí's project.